Good morning again. So in previous lecture number 19, we have been discussing about enzyme stabilization, and we have seen what are the different techniques that are available to stabilize the enzyme, because enzymes are generally soluble in water, or proteins also soluble in water. So it is very difficult to separate them out from the product, as well as during the reaction within the bioreactor also. The enzyme gets deactivated due to various reasons. It may be due to dissociation of the structure because of the medium, all these things. So that way there is a requirement to ensure the stability of the enzyme during the course of the reaction, and also the stabilization will be helping us in recovering the product also, means recovering the product from the enzyme, because we know that enzymes are biocatalysts which do not take part in the reactions. So once the reaction is done, obviously enzymes, whatever initial concentration of enzyme we have taken, the same concentration will be available along with the final products that are formed in a biochemical reaction. So there is a necessity to recover the enzyme. If it is soluble in water, it is very difficult, or it is very costlier to recover the enzymes from the final product. Okay. Also there is the effect of pH, effect of other parameters, also effect of the substrate also there, or even effect of intermediates also will be affecting the enzyme activity. To enhance the enzyme activity also, several techniques have been followed. Okay, so different techniques have been discussed in the previous lecture, and in which immobilization is one of the technique whose advantages and disadvantages have been discussed in the previous lecture. Okay, and we have started with the different types of immobilization techniques, which we will discuss in detail in this lecture number 20. Okay, so I will show you some demonstration. One of our department PhD scholar is doing immobilization also in this lecture. Okay, so this is going to be a short lecture. So we know that in a typical enzymatic system, there are additional efforts which are required to separate the enzymes from the reaction system. Okay, as I said, from the final product, there is necessity to remove the enzyme. Obviously, it increases the cost of the operation, because whenever there is a new unit operation is required, the capital cost, the operating cost is coming into picture. So the budget to run the plant also increases. So that way, if you want this kind of separation, so particularly when you are doing it in large scale production, so you have constraints, several constraints coming into picture. Okay, as we seen that there is a necessity to reuse the enzyme, because enzymes are a bit costlier than the conventional catalysts. Okay, so that's why it is essential that we have to recover the enzymes. That's why this particular method called immobilization, or fixing of enzymes to or within a solid support, it will help us in giving high stability for the enzyme. It will enhance the rate of the reaction. It enhances the reactivity. Also, the operational off time, that is the life of the operation, is going to increase. Particularly if you want to tell in technical terms, the operational off life is increased for this type of immobilized enzyme versus non-immobilized enzymes when you are using it in biochemical reactions. Okay, so moreover, we are going to have a better control throughout the process. As I said, when you are not immobilizing it, initially the enzymes will be very good, having a very higher rate of reactions, but later on with the time they get deactivated. Okay, so by that way we don't have a proper control over the process for a long run or in a continuous run. So that way, when you are doing immobilization, we are going to have a better reaction control, and also it is easy to recover the catalyst from the products, and thereby we are ensuring the reusability of the costly enzymes than the conventional heterogeneous chemical catalysts. Okay, because most of them will be operating in the dissolved water in homogeneous catalytic system. Also, it is going to, if we are not immobilizing it, there may be a product contamination, or there may be, we cannot reuse those enzymes when you are not immobilizing. Okay, so as I said, these enzymes are generally expensive also. Any catalyst is going to be expensive, and in this particularly, enzymes are more expensive than the normal heterogeneous chemical catalyst. Okay, so as I said, one of the we have several strategies available, among which one of the widely used strategy is this immobilization technique. Okay, so this has come into picture because as a chemical engineer, we know the packed bed, fluidized bed have been used in the reactors. Particularly, we are well aware about the absorption operations, which we operate in fluidized bed conditions. Also, we do even chemical reactions in a fluidized bed and packed bed conditions, right? So that has helped us to get into this type of operations where we just take any material supports. We'll talk about it again in detail. So on a support, we either on the surface of the support or through the pores of a support, these enzymes will be attached to it. So that attachment can be physical or chemical. Okay, so that will be helping us to operate in a continuous operation. It will help us in continuous operations, particularly because we know if we are as a chemical engineer, we know a packed bed or a fluidized bed is there. When the catalysts are there, we obviously we know that any catalyst will get deactivated with respect to time. And we know we have a setup in fluidized bed reactor that we will withdraw the catalyst column. You know that packed bed means we have a solid packing in a long cylinder. Gas will be going from the bottom or the liquid will be flowing from the top in generally in a counter current operation. So we can easily, we have a continuously, we can withdraw a portion of the catalyst present or the bed, fixed bed that is present, fluidized bed that is present in the system. Continuously we can withdraw certain amount of the catalyst and we reactivate it. That is a small column which will be activating the catalyst. That is, we will be washing it. Some operation can be done. Okay, that comes under your master answer course. What we do for reactivating the catalyst. Okay, so that withdrawn catalyst will be activated. Again, it will be sent back to the system. So that way, when you are immobilizing it, which gives us a familiar operation of this operating in a fluidized bed and recirculating or reactivating the catalyst and recirculating it into the system, which helps us. Okay, so that way this immobilization is going to help us, particularly for a heterogeneous operations. So when I say heterogeneous system, in general it is gas, solid, liquid system. Okay, three-phase system. And particularly in that, support is an important material which we have to consider, because the support on which we are immobilizing our enzymes is important, because that should be inert. It should not react with the substrate or intermediate or the product form. It should have a stability, mechanical stability, chemical neutrality, chemical stability. Okay, also it should be cheap and it should be widely available. So all the general characteristics that we usually define for any absorbent also will be applicable here. Okay, so there are variety of materials from organic sources and inorganic sources are used as a support. So for particularly for enzyme immobilization techniques, we use mesoporous materials. We can use nanotubes, carbon nanotubes. We can use inorganic nanoparticles like copper nanoparticle, silver nanoparticle, platinum nanoparticle, like that. Okay, and we can use the metal organic frameworks, kind of organic matrices. Okay, we even say metal phthalocyanines can be used. Also, it can be a biopolymer also can be used, and particularly this textile material, textile cloth also can be used as a support. So there is no perfect support material for any enzyme, because enzymes are naturally found in a free form, but we are immobilizing it to a surface. So obviously we cannot get a perfect support for any material. So but we have to choose a suitable support material which gives us some more economic operation. Okay, so that is the point when you are concerned about it. Okay. What are the some of the general characteristics? As I told you, primary necessity while choosing any support material is it should have some mechanical strength, because during the operation it should not get crushed. We have generally studied in most answer, right? In a packing material, what are the general characteristics of a packing material, packing support, right? So same is applicable here. As I told, strength, mechanical strength. Okay, inexpensive, that is cheaply available, abundantly available. It should be flexible for using different enzymes. It should be durability. The life of this support material should be good, and it should be versatile. When you say versatile or flexibility, it is again the same. It should be able to operate under varying pressure, varying temperature, and different enzymes. Okay, different enzymes should be able to immobilize onto the support. and accessibility of it, inertness to the environment. Because it won't happen normally, okay, but in worst case, that extreme operating condition will not come in a continuous operation, because we nowadays we have a process control. Any deviation of 5%, we will get a feedback, and that feedback control is there. We have seen in control course also forward feedback, back loop feedback, and a different type of feedback system is there, so which takes care of that. But however, if there is any, because remember this control will be giving indicator to the operators. When the operators fail to respond to that indicators, there is going to be accident, because risk is involved there. So in such kind of surrounding stimuli also, this support should be stable. Okay. So also this affinity, that's what any affinity towards the desired enzyme should be more. That's obviously when you are selecting a particular support, we will be checking that one. Okay. So these above mentioned general characteristics will not be available in a naturally available support. So that way we always take a support, we functionalize it, or we modify the properties of any support before we attach any enzyme onto the support. Okay, so it's a similar, same thing is done for our catalyst also. If you take any catalyst, because when we say talk about the noble catalyst like platinum, ruthenium, iridium, kind of costlier catalyst. So it is because remember this, when we talk about catalyst, the reaction, the surface of the catalyst is more important than the core of the catalyst. That's why it is always preferred that we don't want to have, when you say a spherical shaped catalyst, only on the surface of the catalyst it is going to work. So always we take a support over which the costlier material like platinum is coated. So the reaction, we can only load 10% of platinum is required instead of a whole spherical ball being a platinum. If you take a carbon support over which when you coat the platinum, only you need only 10 weight percentage of the platinum will be sufficient to do the same reaction instead of having a full spherical ball of a platinum. So that way, there also these kind of things are important. Okay, so all these properties are important. Okay, so there also it may not be, any support may not take, because with respect to time, even if you say Vulcan carbon or carbon support on which a platinum is supported, with respect to time, platinum will be strong. But what happens with the carbon is they loosen up the molecules, the arrangement of the molecules in the carbon will get loosened up, because of which, let me say this is the carbon support over which a platinum molecule is surrounded. What happens with respect to time is this is a holder holding a platinum molecule. That's what a role of a support. It is holding the carbon molecule at its surfaces. So what happens with respect to time is the durability issue is there with carbon. With respect to time, it loosens up. So when there is a high flow rate of this, so this material way washed away. So that way we call it as erosion of the catalyst from the catalyst surface is happening. So that will happen with whenever we are doing these, whenever we are immobilizing the catalyst, platinum on carbon like kind of thing. So here we are talking about enzyme, but in general in chemical catalysts also, any costly material which is coated on a support will tend with the durability, because not because of this platinum, but because of the carbon support structure getting loosened up will be taken away. So that way the washing away of this noble catalyst, because which is very small in ppm level, it is going, it is very, we cannot have another unit operation to recover that platinum also, right? So that way we what we do is we functionalize or we modify the structure of the support before we bring in the platinum onto the carbon. Okay, that's called different techniques are there. One of them is functionalization, which means that introducing some of the functional groups onto the surface of the support. Then we introduce this enzyme. Okay, so that the bonding between them is better and the durability of the support is more, so that you are not losing your precious catalyst. Same thing is applicable here also. We don't have any naturally available support material with all the qualities. Some of them, as I said, there are 10 qualities is required. We will never get with all qualities. It's very rare, right? So even when you look for marriage alliances also, some people who believe in all unscientific things, they will look for various things, right? 10 to 15, I need 10 matches should be there, like that. It's very difficult to find, very rare also to find. So we have to settle with 4 5, then remaining can be adjusted, right? Like that, whenever we are choosing support for this kind of immobilization also, it is very difficult to find any support having all the desired properties. So what we will do is we'll choose with 50% whatever properties are there. Remaining property we can incorporate into it by doing some of the modifications on the support. So that we should know. Okay, so if you look at the literature studies, they show some various steps are followed in the preparation process of the support materials, regardless of their sources and the origins. So obviously, it is going to be very complex methods that are being used here. Okay, so there are several methods are available for large scale implementation of this technology. This textile method is one of the easiest method. People find it here on. Okay, so with that note on support, how enzyme is getting supported onto a enzyme support is coming under this immobilization techniques. So what are the different methods that are followed in this immobilization will be discussed in this lecture. Okay, so first method is covalent bonding. So we have adsorption method, we have entrapment method, we have copolymerization method, we have encapsulation method. So I was telling in the previous lecture also that two major things we have told you. One is that these enzymes are soluble in water, so we have to make it insoluble by immobilizing into the surface so that it can be easily recovered from the product stream, right? There is another case where you can have these enzymes in its soluble form itself. For that, there is a method called immobilizing or entrapping them into some of the membranes. Inside the pores of a membrane, we can even keep the liquid form or the, what do you call it, as a soluble form of the enzyme into it, and still that can be used also. Okay, so that way, encapsulating them into a membrane is also one of the way to entrap the enzymes without losing it in the product stream. Okay, so now we will look into some of the techniques that are followed in detail. Okay, so if you look into this covalent body, so obviously whenever you want to talk about the bond, some chemical groups that will be forming the covalent bonds should be known. Okay, so for example, these amino groups, hydroxyl groups, carboxyl groups, thiol groups, methyl thiol groups, phenyl rings are there. So these are some of the widely used chemical groups that will form the covalent bond between the enzyme and the support. Okay, so as you can see here in this figure, so you have enzyme molecules getting supported to the enzyme support through some covalent bond. Okay, so this bond may be due to attachment of this any one of these groups, chemical groups. Okay, so if you look at the carriers which are used thing, so carbohydrates like cellulose, agarose, protein carriers, cyanogen bromide, hydroxyl amino groups, they all will be forming covalent bond easily. Okay, so these materials are called as carriers for forming the bond. Okay, so under this medium, we will be able to attach the enzymes to the support. Okay, so the covalent attachment of enzyme molecules via these non-essential amino acid residues, that is amino acid without water, to water insoluble functionalized support. As I said, because whatever support we are choosing should be insoluble in water. That is the main purpose of supporting an enzyme into the support, right? Because why we want to immobilize an enzyme? We want to, it is soluble easily, enzymes are easily soluble in the water. That's why it is very difficult to separate it from the product stream. So that's why we want to immobilizing into the support. But if that support is also soluble in water, there is no point of doing immobilization. That's why it is very basic that we have to choose a support which is functionalized. As I said, functionalized support means it is modified little bit to enhance the properties of the support, which will be generally insoluble in the water. Okay, so that is the most commonly used method, covalent attachment of the enzyme. So this is the most widely used immobilization technique. Okay, so if you look at some of the groups, which are the functional groups. So functional groups of the non-essential amino acid residues, which are suitable for this particular covalent immobilization are free alpha beta gamma carboxyl groups, alpha or beta amino groups, phenyl groups, hydroxyl group, sulfhydryl groups, or imidazole groups. Okay. So another variation of this immobilization by the covalent attachment is polymerization reactions. We know that if you take any monomer and with this enzyme, it can form a polymer. Okay, so that type of immobilization is also being done, because since reaction is involved, again here it is a covalent attachment. Okay, so you consider a reactive monomer M. So if you take NM plus enzyme, will form a polymer MnE, which may be having a structure. It's just it need not essentially the same way. It may be having a structure like this. Okay, MME, and E is surrounded with all the enzymes. Okay, so that structure is one of the structure, that is copolymerization. Okay, that means it is repeated. This unit is repeated n times. Okay, that's why we write n here. So already active polymers such as malic anhydride copolymers will be simply mixed with the enzyme to produce immobilized enzyme. So simple mixing will be forming such type of immobilized enzyme under suitable conditions. It's not that you mix roughly at the room conditions, dry mixing. Normally, natural or synthetic polymers need to be activated by treating them with chemical reagents before adding the enzyme. Okay, that's important. We have to activate them. The activation involves either it is chemical conversion of a functional group of the polymer. Okay, so the enzyme's active site should not be involved in the attachment, in which case the enzyme would lose its activity upon immobilization. So wherever that attachment is there, as I said, these active sites available, we have seen with the mechanism also, we have seen that active sites available at the enzyme is only attracting the substrate and getting attached to it, and then the substrate gets converted to the product. So that way, these active sites should not be forming the covalent bond with the support. So that needs to be taken care. Okay. So if you look at the cross-linking or multifunctional reagents can be used. So water insoluble enzymes can be prepared by using such reagents, which are all bifunctional in nature and have very low molecular weight. So this is one of the widely used material, that is glutaraldehyde. Okay, so there are different methods for producing the immobilized enzyme with this kind of reagents. Okay, so enzyme can be reacted with multifunctional reagent alone, so that they are cross-linked intermolecularly by the reagent to form water insoluble derivative. Another method is to absorb the enzymes on a water insoluble surface active support, followed by the intermolecular cross-linking with the reagents, which will strengthen the attachment. Another way is multifunctional reagents can be used to introduce the functional groups into water insoluble polymer. Then there will be a covalent bond reaction which will form with the water soluble enzymes. So if you look at this diagram, so there are different ways the enzyme can be attached to the support. Okay, you can see that it is like adsorption. There is nothing going into the thing. So that way you have, if this bigger circle is support, and this what you call with piece taken out. Okay, let it be the enzyme. So what we have is enzymes are getting attached covalently to the surface of the support. So that we can see enzymes are adsorbed on the surface active support, followed by intermolecular cross-linking. So that is intermolecular cross-linking there. Okay. So another way is it can get into the structure of the support also. So that way there are functional groups are introduced on the support, which will react covalently with the enzymes. So that is the second model in which this covalent bonding can take place. And there is third model, which are the cross-linking intermolecular with this whatever material we have discussed. Okay, so there are three ways in which these are all proposed mechanisms. Okay, by which the covalent bonding is taking place. Okay, because that each one will have its own advantage and disadvantage, because some may be very strong, some may be weak forces may be there. If it is weak forces, there will be deactivation taking place during the reaction. Okay. And the another simple method which we are well aware as a chemical engineer is adsorption method, which is one of the oldest methods and simplest method which is used. So these particularly initial stages, To absorb the invertase, they used charcoal as the charcoal as the support. But Nelson and Griffin, they were the first to exhibit or demonstrate this absorption of this invertase onto the charcoal. Okay. So enzymes are adsorbed onto the external surface of the support. So the support material can be a mineral support, which can, like a clay, aluminium oxide. You can see the cost involved in it. Okay, so it's a very cheap support can be used. Okay, and it can be organic support like starch, or it can be some resins can be used. Okay, ion exchange resins can be used as a support or the carrier. It is direct attachment. You can see there is no covalent bonding shown here. Okay. And what are the requirements of the such carrier material or support material? Obviously, this particle must be small. We have seen that whenever it is a nanoscale or nano containers, last lecture I explained you that nanoparticle will be encapsulating these enzymes, which will have more catalytic activity. That's why it is better if you have the catalytic particles which are smaller in size. Okay, the particle size can be 500 Armstrong. We know that 1 Armstrong is 10 power minus 10 meters, right? So up to 1 mm in diameter, the particle size range can be there. So there should be no limitations on the pore diffusion, because diffusion of these enzymes, mass transfer should not be a case. In next lecture, we'll discuss about this mass transfer effects on these enzymes, okay, immobilized enzymes. So some of the advantages with this adsorption adsorption, right? So this adsorption method, some of the advantages are, so it is easy to perform because it needs not much labor is not required. With little knowledge of this adsorption, how to handle the chemicals and adsorb, it can be performed. Okay, semi-skilled labors are sufficient to do that part. So no much reagents are required, and there are minimum activation steps are involved. You can see that in previous case, the carrier material needs to be activated before supporting getting this enzyme attached to it. Okay, and it is a comparatively cheaper method to other methods, and it is a less disruptive to protein than the chemical method, because in chemical method there is a chance that the enzyme's active sites getting damaged or affected. Okay, and there are obviously disadvantages because it is going to be based on the forces, right? Because single layer or monolayer adsorption, we don't know what type of forces, either it is weak van der Waals forces or strong forces are there. So there will be obviously desorption of enzymes from the support. Okay, and obviously in comparison to chemical method, the efficiencies will be slightly lesser than that. Okay. So if what is the advantage? So I just repeating that the procedure of the immobilization is simple. It is easy to separate and purify the enzymes while being immobilized also. The enzymes are not usually deactivated by the adsorption generally, yeah, during the process, because chemicals will be deactivating it, and you know that adsorption is a reversible process. Okay. So what about the strength? If you look at the strength, the bonding strength is weak. I'm repeating here. Okay. And the state of the immobilization is very sensitive to the pH, because when there is a change in pH, ionic strength and the temperature, we know this, since this adsorption is based on weak forces, not like a covalent bond, so this it will be reversible. That's why this, it's very sensitive to changes, extreme conditions it cannot handle. Okay. And with respect to chemical bonding, there will be per unit mass, how much enzyme is attached to the support will be more with respect when there is a chemical bonding. But in comparison to that, in case of adsorption, the amount of enzymes loaded on a unit mass of the support is going to be low. Okay. And there is another method called as entrapment method. Okay, so entrapment methods, it's like you can see that how people are sitting in a classroom or a aeroplane. So they are getting entrapped in a respective seats in a matrix. Okay, so that is called entrapment method. So enzymes are physically entrapped inside a matrix in this case, and the bonds involved may be covalent or non-covalent. So that is even there may be bonds involved. Okay. So what are the different material which are used for this matrix encapsulation? You can say that agar, gelatin, alginates, cellulose triacetate, polyacrylamide gels are being used as the matrix for entrapment of the enzymes. Okay. So here you can see that more ordered way, right? Because in case of adsorption also, we are not sure whether how uniformly they are distributed, but here you can see the uniform distribution also. Okay, so we have to adjust the pore size of the matrix to prevent the loss of the enzyme. Okay, once it is locked, it's like how we fix a seat belt in our flights. So we want to adjust the pore size so that it won't get moved out of the sites from the matrix, site of the matrix. So thereby we should have very less loss of the enzyme. And the possibility of leakage of low molecular weight enzyme is there. And there are some of the materials like agar and carrageenan which will have a large pore size. So they needs to be adjusted accordingly. And entrampment of enzymes can be used for sensing applications. Okay, not much success in industrial processes because as I told, no, the biosensors. So biosensors are same. When you are not able to do it in large scale, we can always use it in a small scale, like a probe kind of thing. In a small scale, we will entrap this thing and you put it in the medium to know the readings, right? So to estimation or to identify the leakages, this kind of electrochemical sensor, bioelectrochemical sensors are used. So remember, the electrochemical method can be used. This bioelectrochemical method can be used in the large scale also, but it is not economical in some way, or it needs further improvement to make it into a large scale application. So that's why they are mainly used in this identification, or what do you call it, as analysis. Okay, these biosensors. So in these cases and all, this entrapment. Already I have discussed with you about the estimation of blood sugar. We immobilize the one of the enzymes onto the paper. Two enzymes are entrapped on the paper, and based on the color change, we define these things that have been discussed in the previous lecture when we introduced the enzymes. Okay. So in such kind of applications, this entrapment of enzyme method is being used. Okay. So it is, as I said, it is easy to practice at the small scales, and there is no more chemical modification of enzymes, which means that the natural properties or intrinsic properties of the enzymes are retained. Okay. And obviously there is some disadvantages associated with this. When some of the enzymes may get deactivated during the gel formations, and as I said, when the pore sizes of the matrix is not adjusted properly, the leakage of enzymes may take place. So some of the methods used for this type of entrapment are inclusion in the gels, like enzymes are trapped in the gels in this case, inclusions in the fibers. So enzymes are supported on the fiber format, or inclusion in the microcapsules. That is the formed monomer mixtures such as polyamide or calcium alginates. Okay, so if you look at the among the different polymers, the most commonly employed cross-linked polymer is the polyacrylamide gel system, which will be immobilize the alcohol dehydrogenase, glucose oxidase, amino acid oxidase, hexokinase, glucose isomerase, urease, and several other enzymes. Okay, so the fourth method is the cross-linking of these enzymes using some of the polymers by taking a monomer. So you can see that cross-linking or copolymerization, where the covalent bonding between various groups of enzymes via a polyfunctional reagents is done. Okay, so example for some of the polyfunctional reagents are glutaraldehyde or diazonium salt, more commonly used. And in this case, you can see that there is no matrix or support which are involved. So the cost of having a matrix or support or activating such a support is not required in these cases. But we are using some of the polymers. While choosing the polymers also, we have to be careful that it is not reactive with the enzymes or in the system. It should be neutral with respect to the substrate and the condition, medium conditions. Okay, that's why that only it will provide the sufficient strength for the enzyme to stay coherent, stay strong during the course of the reactions. Okay, so that's why this method is used for commercial applications, and this technique is cheap and simple. So they but are not often used with the pure proteins. They are not used with the pure proteins, and there is some demerits associated with this polymer. So while selecting, we have to take care of that. They can have the tendency to denature the enzymes. Okay. So these are some of the polyfunctional reagents. This is diazonium salt, and it is glutaraldehyde. Okay. So the another method is encapsulation method. So enclosing the enzymes in a that matrix encapsulation, we have seen that already entrapment is different, and here encapsulation is different. Here entrapment in this case we are capping each enzyme in different sides of the matrix. Okay, but here it is like totally surrounded. It's like a jail. We are encapsulating it into a thing. Say for example, you put into your room and lock it. So that way we are doing this encapsulation technique. So even this nanomaterial encapsulation is being done with these methods. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are enclosing the enzymes in a semi-permeable membrane capsule, so that the substrate will be able to go through this permeable membrane. Okay. So generally these nylon or nitrocellulose capsules are being used, and their effectiveness will depend upon the actual stability of the enzyme, right? Again, we are not adding anything to the substrate. Substrate stays as it is, but we are trying to encapsulate it so that it doesn't get carried away. So if you want to compare or give some of the material examples or some of the support materials which are used for all these different methods are given in this table. So if you look at this adsorption, some of the widely used support materials for which it is being used, and what is the reaction if it is reactive thing. So what kind of reaction it is being used, that is applications. Okay, so your reaction refers to applications. So in the lactic acid production, in the ethanol production from glucose, this kind of adsorption immobilization of the cells are being done. Okay, so as I told you, these cells, in place of cells you can take some examples for enzymes also. Okay, so enzymes immobilization, cell immobilization, this mechanism or techniques followed are same. Okay, so these are example for cell immobilization. As I told, the next model is cell growth. First we are going to discuss. So there you can make use of these cells reactions, and we see what are the different techniques which are preferred for different support materials. Okay. So this is one of the recent literature where they have taken a textile material and they added some, which this plus represent the active sites in the textile surface. So they introduced the functional groups, textile surface with electrophile functional groups as done. So in the next step, these enzymes are taken into this medium where the enzymes are there. So the enzyme molecules form a stable covalent bond with the textile. You can see that enzymes filled with the liquid, we put it into this. So you can see that the enzymes are getting attached to the functional groups that are introduced into this textile surface. So these electrophile functional groups grafted in the textile will react with the strong nucleophile groups present in the enzyme, and they form a covalent bonding. Okay, so some of the precautions needs to be taken while doing this covalent bond. So that's why this is a textile biocatalyst. So a recent literature in 2021, they have demonstrated this. So that way the textile materials also being used as the. So now we are going to show you some example of immobilization of a sodium alginate beads with yeast. Okay, so we have taken yeast and we are using sodium alginate beads. Okay, so what we do is we take sodium alginate, yeast is there. Okay, so we make a CaCl2 plus water, and fourth step is we make a solution. Okay, so what we'll do is after making that solution, we transfer it the calcium chloride solution in a petri dish and drop by drop addition of the sodium alginate solution is done slowly into the dish using a syringe. Okay, so it's slow introduction, it's a drop by drop introduction is done. So then we drain, and the drain means filtering it out, and then we let it dry for the remaining water to be lost. So what we get is a immobilized sodium alginate beads was immobilized with the yeast. So that's an immobilization technique. Okay, so I will demonstrate that with an example. Okay, just let me know your audio is available when I play it. Okay. Yeah. So for example, now we are going to immobilize one of the.
Good morning everyone. Here we are going to immobilize microorganism Pichia pastoris onto the activated carbon.
So I told you in the last lecture also that
Before start,
activated carbon is one of the widely used support because it is cheaply available. Anybody can even prepare the activated carbon by taking any biomass. You can do it in furnace, tubular furnace, in absence of oxygen or in presence of oxygen. We will do this experiment and we will collect the material and we will filter it, and we even do pH adjustment and we do filtering and drying to get the activated carbon. So that's why this activated carbon is widely used.
starting this process, inoculum of the Pichia pastoris is prepared and it is kept for 1 day. After this,
In next model, I will discuss why incubation is done, how the inoculum is prepared in detail. So now, as of now, so this here the inoculum is prepared and incubated for 1 day. So then we have feed solution. It's like a mixture of all these with all these in particular solution. What we call is broth solution, right? So we take particular broth means with including product, it is called as broth solution in a bioreactor. So here we have to take a certain amount of extract glucose, yeast, peptone in a certain quantity and mix it in water to get this feed solution.
we have to prepare feed solution for the survival of the microorganism. These are the chemicals that are required to prepare the feed solution. And activated carbon is the material on which immobilization of this microorganism is going to take place.
Now actually we perform this experiment in a controlled environment where we call it as laminar chamber. So laminar chamber is like we have air flowing into the system so that there is no contamination takes place, because we cannot do it in room condition because microbes are present, airborne diseases also we get, right? Why we are wearing mask in when you are moving in around, so that all this because we want to ensure that whatever reaction is taking place, it is because of the bacteria which was we added into the system, not because of the bacteria which has reached from bacteria or any other microorganism or any contamination. Remember, biochemical reactions are very sensible to the change in any foreign material coming into the picture. So that way, even you work some tons range of product you prepare, by mistake some contamination takes place, there is no other go other than discarding the total 1 ton of product that you produce. Even this question was asked to one of the faculty who attended this interview in our college also. So they asked you, there is a big reactor, everything is done, reaction is over, but the product is means the broth is contaminated. What will you do? Give me what you will do, like that they were asking. He was smart enough to answer that the only solution is open the tap and release it, discard it. Okay, so that way it is important that we perform all this experiment in a controlled environment, which we call it as laminar flow chamber. Here also you will find the application of your fluid mechanics thing, that there will be a manometer attached here, so that you'll come to know what is the pressure inside it.
Okay, as we have already seen this presentation, that immobilization is the trapping or trapping of these microorganisms into the solid particles or solid materials. Here in the solid material that I am using is activated carbon, that from the coconut shell, made from the coconut shell.
As I told you, he has prepared the activated carbon from the coconut shell, which is widely available. Wherever you find the tender coconut sellers, they are throwing out the coconut shell, right? So with that you can able to make activated carbon.
And the microorganisms that I am going to immobilize on this activated carbon are is Pichia pastoris. This is the inoculum of the Pichia pastoris. Before starting this immobilization, I have autoclaved this activated carbon as well as the feeding solution for the microorganism.
Remember, this autoclave, whatever he is mentioning, is like sterilization. Say in any surgery, any medicinal applications, when people do, even when they do your vaccination also, either a fresh vaccine is done, fresh needle is used, or whatever, when you want to reuse the syringe or what you call the scissors, any surgery equipment, we will see that they autoclave it. Even if you visit the grid trends kind of barber shops also, you will find that they sterilize the products before using. What is what for? To ensure there is no contamination of it, right? Same way in biochemical operations, whatever material we are using, even the beakers or anything, all needs to be sterilized at a particular temperature and pressure for certain time before we make use of it. It is like keeping it inside a pressure cooker in which steam, using the steam we can cleaning the surfaces. Okay, so that's what we mentioning it as autoclave.
Okay, as we have already seen this presentation that immobilization is the trapping or trapping of this micro solution for the microorganism. Okay. Let's remove this packing of this activated carbon that's present in this petri plate.
Actually, if you people are in real classrooms, I could have shown you it in person also. So that's why I asked you to record and show. So whatever activated carbon we have prepared also means whatever is taken. So that also sterilized, means kept in autoclave and taken out.
See, you can see this activated carbon inside this petri plate. Okay. And now I'm going to drop this activated carbon into this feeding solution.
So he is going to add the activated carbon into the feeding solution which was prepared and sterilized, autoclave. Whenever we say autoclave, it is sterilized. You can understand. Even if you are using spatula to add that spatula needs to be sterilized or autoclave. Okay.
Now, after dropping this activated carbon into the feeding solution, we are going to drop inoculum of this microorganism Pichia pasteuris.
The first day, previous day itself, he has prepared this inoculum, that is adding the microorganism into the solution. Now, he is adding drop by drop to the beaker, in which we have the feed solution and activated carbon support is added.
Now in this class, we are having the feeding solution for the microorganism Pichia pasteuris and the activated carbon on which it is going to be immobilized, and we are going to incubate it for 2 more days for the process to happen. Thank you.
So we will be incubating it for 2 days. So after 2 days only, that we are allowing that 2 days as it is without disturbing it into the same chamber. Okay. Now let's see what has happened.
After incubating this solution for 2 days, here we can observe that the microorganism Pichia pasteuris has been immobilized onto this activated carbon here. And now I'm going to filter out this feed solution and separate this activated carbon.
Remember, this beaker is also sterilized or autoclaved before adding anything. So all these whatever we are using, accessories, needs to be autoclaved or sterilized before using it. Otherwise, contamination will take place. If you do contamination, this 2 days work or 3 days work is wasted. Again, you have to start first. That's why there should be no laziness whenever we are operating with all these microorganisms or enzymes. So we have to sterilize all utensils or whatever we call it. Okay. the last drop, whatever was in the conical flask, is taking out and adding it into the beaker.
Now I have filtered out this fluid solution and separated this immobilized activated carbon.
We are making it airtight because even if air can carry some of the micro contamination into the system. Okay, so that's why we are keeping always a cotton over it, and we are doing it. Okay, so that's what I wanted to demonstrate in this class. So enzyme immobilization is an important strategy to enhance the stability and recoverability of any enzymes or microorganisms, which will facilitate the separation of the microorganism or enzymes from the final product coming out of a bioreactor. Either it can be batch or it can be a continuous reactor like aerated beds. Okay, so however, this enzyme purification followed by separation involves chemical steps which will allow the immobilization on a solid support, will reduce the efficiency and yield of the active enzyme. So different strategies that use enzymes as a building block for biomaterials have been developed to overcome some drawbacks which are related to the enzymes which are not immobilized during the purification and the chemical separations. Okay, so there are several different immobilized materials which are being widely used, which we will discuss in detail in the next lecture. Thank you so much for joining my classroom. Are there any discussion? If you have any doubts, you can stay back, others can leave. Well, in this lecture number 20, we have discussed about different enzyme immobilization techniques which are widely used in the industries, and some of them are used for analytical applications. So what are the advantages and the disadvantages associated with each techniques have been discussed in detail, and even a demonstration video of how an immobilization of a microorganism is done in a laboratory scale is being demonstrated with the help of our research scholar Vamsi Krishna. I thank him for the same. Thanks, Vamsi Krishna. Meet you in the next lecture with another topic. Bye-bye. For this demonstration, okay?